Hello and welcome to yet another edition of the Digital Women Awards brought to you by SheThePeople. The Digital Women Awards celebrate talent, entrepreneurship, and innovation by women, particularly those who are building their businesses using the internet. My name is Rinku Paul, and I firmly believe that the women's entrepreneurial and creative ecosystem needs a lot more meaningful storytelling. As a part of this effort, we bring to you a very illustrious panel today. Four illustrious women, all entrepreneurs in their own right. Let me, without much ado, introduce them to you. First up, we have Mythreyi Kondapi. She is the co-founder and CTO of Startoon Labs Private Limited. Very happy to have you, Mythreyi.
Thank you, Rinku.
We also have with us Harini Sivakumar, Chief Executive Officer, Earth Rhythm. Welcome,
Thank
Harini.
you. Thank you, Rinku.
Next up, Namrutha Ramanathan, founder Upcyclie. Hi, Namrutha.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Rinku.
Most welcome. Last and definitely not the least, we have Shashi Bagchi. She is the founder of Maati Terracotta. Absolute pleasure to have you here, ma'am.
Hi, Rinku. Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's begin with you, Mythreyi. The first product of Startoon Labs is a monitoring and tracking device that tracks recovery of patients undergoing physiotherapy treatment. I'd be very interested to know what led you to think that the space of physiotherapy is where you thought you would be able to add value given your illustrious background, academic background. And for those who don't know, Mythreyi is an IIT, IIM alumnus. So, that makes me really keen.
Yeah, thank you for that. The interesting story is that as an engineer, I always believed the medical devices, would play a direct impact on improving the lives. So I'm always interested in doing something related to medical, though being an engineer, and I'm an electronics engineer. So it's been part of my experience or academics that building medical devices was always interesting to me. When we thought of starting our own company, so the first option was always the medical devices. So it did not just happen to directly go to physiotherapy. So I have done, along with my team, we have done a rigorous market research, understanding the user problems in medical industry, visited hospitals, been part of different activities where I was allowed to go and meet in person with the doctors, technicians, and patients of every department in a hospital. So, as a part of that process, we realized that physiotherapy is one sector which was left untouched for last 50, 60 years from the inception of the physiotherapy field itself. So there is a huge difference in the way the technology involvement has been there in the field of physiotherapy, that you can see by yourself if you have really experienced physiotherapy for yourself or your family members. That as basic as a stethoscope or a very basic documentation is also not available in physiotherapy department right now, which was very surprising to us as technologists. So then we came up with a lot of ideas of how do we make this entire industry of physiotherapy a standardized and organized one. So that's how it started, and then we came up with an idea of Fizi, which creates reporting system for to track and monitor how the patients are performing and progressing over a period of time, which is very innovative, and it's patented device. So it's through a process of understanding and meeting the patients and customers, like basically the users, and then it just slowly fall into place. And it did not happen in the first idea. So it evolved over a period of time. It took almost 6 months to finalize on the final prototype version and show them that this is how is this helpful for you, do you want something more. So it's more of to and fro to the market and showing them, understanding the requirements. So that's how the journey began with physiotherapy
Very
for us.
interesting. And as you mentioned, this was an untouched space completely that you kind of zeroed in on. Harini, I'd like to speak to you next. You set up a skincare product line which brings non-toxic products which are not just good for the skin but also for Mother Earth. And you are an ex-banker turned entrepreneur. I'm told that there is a very personal story that led you to your entrepreneurship journey. Would you like to share it with our viewers?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, thank you, Rinku, for giving me this opportunity to share my story. Absolutely thrilled to be here today. My journey into becoming an entrepreneur was simply accidental. I have to admit that neither did I plan, nor did I dream, nor did I aspire to be an entrepreneur. I come from this very traditional South Indian background who is trained to think that, get into the IIMs, IITs, aim for that 7-digit
Most
salary,
of
get
us
into the
belong to that
corporate.
generation. Yeah.
So yeah, I was trained to think like that. And I started off my career. Yeah, I did my BCom and then my MBA in retail management, and I started my career in a banking industry. But I think I quit my banking career very early. So I quit my banking career right within a year of starting it. So I wouldn't really call that as a professional corporate experience because it just ended right when I started. But going, I think the next year, I delivered a baby and my child had a disability called Down syndrome. So I decided, instantly to take a break from my corporate career. Didn't want to take up a, full-time 9 to 9 job, which will keep me away. A lot of work that had to be done in the personal space. So I took the conscious decision. I think this happened way back in 2010. Until 2015, I was very happy. I was a homemaker to mom to two boys, traveling with my husband from city to city. We moved to Bangalore, we moved to Hyderabad, we moved to Delhi finally in 2015. And I think I was almost 30 plus. I was 32 when I started my skincare brand with no prior experience, no idea as to what entrepreneurship is all about. It simply started as a passion project, to be honest. I, as a consumer, was looking for a certain type of product for my own personal use and for my son's requirement because he had eczema. Back then, I think, products without fragrances were available in Indian market, but they were typically called pharma products. So you would find a soap without fragrance in a pharmacy. You would find a moisturizer without fragrance in a pharmacy, but you wouldn't find this in your supermarket right next to your door. So that got me thinking as to why are these classified as pharma products while these can very well be, brought into the mainstream category. So that led me into, being inquisitive and, trying to figure out if I can make my own skincare products. My first level started coming in then. And I think in 2017, I decided to take the plunge. I had a lot of time in my hand being a homemaker. So I decided, why not I study formulations? So I had to take a break from, in 2017, unlearning my economics, commerce, accountancy, and relearning organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry altogether.
Well,
And then I think 2017, I started off right in this room where you're seeing. In this room, I started
uh-huh.
my venture.
Okay.
I registered under an MSME and I started making a lot of very basic skincare products like soaps, moisturizers, shampoos, and stuff. Um, from there on, no looking back, to be honest, I did build a good amount of audience. I managed to find those audience, right? So the most important thing is you need to find that PG who is interested in buying your product. So I managed to find those people who were interested, and I kind of knew why they were coming to a small brand like, back then it was called Soapworks India. So why were they coming to a brand like Soapworks India to buy a product from us, while there were many brands that were catering to many of the FMCG brands there. So the idea was very simple. With smaller brands, consumers had the ability to customize their product. They were able to tell me in specific what exactly were their requirements. And that's the first most thing. And the second thing was, a lot of these product, consumers are looking for problem solving products, and industry was really struggling at that point of time to give a problem solving product. Rather, it was more generic in terms of, claims as to moisturizing, oily skin. So I was trying to build a product line that could probably solve problems for consumers, not just giving vague labels like, say, paraben free, sulfate free. If we can go a bit more further and give them problem solving products. So that was the thought behind Earth Rhythm. So I think my dad jumped into the business in 2018. He saw me in this room sitting in a pile of, mess. He was like, "Harini, you're just not willing to give up on your passion. So if there is any way that I can help you, I'm willing to do it." So that got me, to be honest, I was a homemaker all along, and the guts of, stepping out at the age of 32, leaving both my kids at home, going out of my comfort zone, starting a company was at that point of time a great deal for me. I took the plunge. To be honest, my dad gave the confidence. He was like, let's try it and see. This is not something, probably if we do well, we're going to win this. If we don't, it's okay. I just tried it. Let's do it. So we stepped out of our comfort zone. 2019, we registered. I was very clear from the beginning. I'm a product person. I wanted to own the product manufacturing for Earth Rhythm. So applied for manufacturing license. We set up a small manufacturing unit in Gurgaon. And we started off, and I think, no looking back from there, from there, we've jumped heaps and bounds and we've traveled a long journey. But that's how, I got into, becoming an entrepreneur, and that's the
More
background.
power to you, really.
Thank you.
Namrutha, I'd like to come to you next. Now, you run a very interesting enterprise. She runs a business that turns textile waste into products of everyday use. Am I right?
Yes, that is right. I deal with around 50 to 100 kgs of fabric waste in a month. These waste are basically, tailoring waste that you usually see every tailoring Anna and Akka who basically like
Yeah,
make clothes for you and throw them away.
right.
Yeah, I basically pick them up. There is a lot of operational, challenges involved, right? From
How did you
uh,
chance upon this idea in the first place?
yeah, so it started with my grandmother actually. So I'm trained in tailoring. She trained me ever since I was a kid. I've been making like my own clothes and all that. It runs in the
Uh-huh.
family. So my grandmom is a very short person. So when she was altering her nightgown, I mean,
Had a lot
huge
of,
bits of pieces, yes,
right.
were left. So she started making masks and she started distributing everywhere, like around the household.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, if one tailor in one corner can create so much value, what are the other people doing? And comfortably, all the other tailors, they were making masks, but beyond a certain point they couldn't see a lot of money out of it, so
Right.
they silently threw all of the waste straight into the dustbin. Like they couldn't even give it to the people who come and collect it, the waste collection operators, because it cannot be like classified anywhere. And once it hits the soil, that's where clothes go maximum to the landfills, and no wonder fashion industry is the second most polluting. The
Right.
moment it hits the ground, it's gone. Nobody is gonna like pick it up. It gets a little disgusting, right?
Right.
So I make sure it doesn't hit the soil at all, and I pick it up, and we make like very not just useful but also cute products out of them, so that people don't think of it as waste, rather something that they can actually put to use, and they have a sense of pride when they do that, because they have avoided a piece from entering a landfill, which could cause so much harm to the environment.
Very, very interesting. And to think that it's started out as a side hustle and then became this full
Yes,
enterprise. Yeah, more power to you, really.
thank you
I'd
so
like to
much.
come to you, Shashi. Maati Terracotta is your brainchild, where you've started to manufacture terracotta products that are not only liked by a lot of people, they also keep the potter kitchen fires burning. How did you come upon this idea?
Well, my mother was an artist. She used to
Uh-huh.
paint. And I think I got it from her. I also started painting when I was in school.
Uh-huh.
And college, I was lucky. My parents encouraged me to study what I was interested in, and I studied fine arts. I
Right.
was working in an advertising agency, but after
Uh-huh.
some time, I got bored of it. And that's when I decided that I wanted to do something on my own. So I took a break. I did a course in pottery, understanding the nuances of working with clay.
Uh-huh.
And after that, my husband and me went around, did a little bit of market survey, market research, trying to see which are the shops keeping terracotta products, what kind of products do they keep. And we found that everything was brought in from outside Bangalore, mainly Kerala. Nothing was being made locally.
Uh-huh.
So we approached an outlet and they said, okay, we want these garden mushrooms and we want lamp bases. Another shop said we want diffusers. The third shop said we want quirky decor items. And then the fourth shop said, I only want Ganeshas. So I started working with these, but I was working with potters. I did not have my own unit. And that really did not excite me.
Uh-huh.
Simultaneously, though I did start supplying to these outlets, simultaneously, my father was very interested in gardening, and I also am interested in gardening. So I wanted clay pots because at the plant, cement and plastic not being good for plants. But I could not find clay pots. So that's when I decided that I will get into gardenware. I went
Okay.
around looking for potters, but unfortunately realized that the younger generation has stopped working. And those who were working were middle aged and they were not ready to start learning something new, saying that, there's no market at all. And yes, I did work with some potters. They could not pick up the work. I got the pieces, started using it myself because I didn't want to demotivate them. And then I found two brothers who were very talented but needed a lot of, coaxing, saying that you can do something different. There is a market. So it took me 2 years to change their mindset, and it started working on them. Started working, teaching them how to make animal shaped planters. And once we reached a certain level, that's when we started retailing, and that's how Marty was born. And I'm happy and proud to say that we are the first ones who started, making animal shaped planters, literally hand building them, not just making something round and sticking a head and a tail and a legs and all that. So we
Right.
sculpted them. And then in 2013, I started making large planters and urns. That's again something which is not available in the market. But that took me some time because a lot of pottery on the roadside which is being sold is not baked properly
Mm-hmm.
because people are scared that if it bursts they lose out on that much money, so they would underbake it. And it took me about 6 to 8 months to win the confidence of customers, saying that yes, these pots are well baked, they do not disintegrate easily. And so that's how Mati was born. It's been a very difficult journey, not easy working with potters, not easy working
Yeah.
with skilled labor, but it's fun.
And you persevered and made it through. So we're all very proud of you, actually. I'd like to ask one question. All of you, or any of you, can choose to answer it. I have interacted a lot with women entrepreneurs and written 3 books dealing with women entrepreneurship. And the one thing when I'm speaking to women entrepreneurs, they've always said is that when they took this leap towards entrepreneurship, and most of you are again corporate professionals turned entrepreneurs, most of these women said that there were a lot of naysaying voices in the environment when they wanted to take the entrepreneurial leap. And not just naysaying voices in the environment, most women also said that there were gremlins inside their own heads telling them that you will not succeed, you'll not make it. And perhaps those naysaying voices inside were even more powerful than what they saw in the external environment. So is your journey similar, or did you not meet any naysaying voices, and the world outside and inside was very encouraging? I'd like to hear from any of you. Yeah, Harini, would you like to start? Yeah.
Yes, yes, I do have a point to make. It's very true because I think I don't come with any pedigree, right? So the minute you become an entrepreneur, no offense, Mythreyi, neither do I come from an IIT background or IIM background. To be honest, I did not have problems with the community around me giving me signals or messages or anything. But when my business started growing and when I really wanted to raise funds, we
Uh-huh.
recently raised the seed round, right? So most of the investor conversations would be like they would want to check the pedigree of the entrepreneur. How capable are they to run the business? I think that's where it got me. No offense, I mean, obviously if they're investing money they do need to do their due diligence, but
Sure.
um, they do you need to, that gave me a little bit of a probably I would say a shocker when a lot of them really wanted to have or back only founders who had certain pedigree. That got me a little bit, I wouldn't say upset, but quite surprised that, that's how the industry functions. But having said that, there are some funds who really support entrepreneurs like me who have no, I would proudly say I'm a first generation entrepreneur, right? Neither as my family, I don't come from a business background either. And, have, to run a business and to probably scale it up to that level, you really need to show growth in the company. And I think that's the most difficult thing, is what I think at the moment.
Right, right. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Namrutha, Shashi, or Mythreyi, any
Sure.
thoughts on this?
So the naysaying didn't, for me, the naysaying didn't happen with, with people around me. Rather, it was, the inner voices that constantly said,
Sounds very
all the
familiar. Yeah.
examples, yes, all the examples that you see everywhere have got some or the other background, like a solid, someone who will support. Whereas coming from a pure middle class South Indian background, I'm actually the only entrepreneur in like couple of generations in my
Okay.
family,
Uh-huh.
men and women combined.
Uh-huh.
So it was a little bit of a shocker. My mom didn't speak to me for at least like 2 or 3 months, saying,
Oh
when
my
I
God.
said that I'm gonna go around pick up waste. So yeah, so that
I'll be
was a
very
little bit of a
proud of you
shocker.
now, though.
Yes, they were. They are, and she is a huge support right now. It's just
Mhm.
that you will have to like overcome that little self doubt that keeps creeping in every now and then. Especially whenever a huge brand makes a big move and you do not have that kind of money to actually push
I
that kind of
agree.
throttle.
Yes.
Yeah, that beating that self doubt is everything.
Yeah, ever so often you have that imposter syndrome, wondering whether I'll be able to do it. Am I really cut out for it, and all of that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be very
Yeah.
interested also to find out, when did all of you take your businesses online, and what has been the uptick since?
I have been online ever since I started off. It has been completely online. I didn't have, I still don't have any retail
Okay.
partnerships. So I'm
Uh-huh.
still, yeah. So everything is through Instagram. I launched on Etsy. I serviced a couple of orders abroad. I took my website live the day the article went live as well.
Okay.
So I have been completely online, and see
That has
the
obviously
way.
worked well for you.
Yes, that has, mainly because there is a lot of awareness creation that needs to be done, and it is pretty easy to do it online. So
Right.
it is a
Right.
very powerful tool for a business like mine.
Harini, what about you? Did you start online as well, or did you move?
So yeah, I started off from a Facebook page, right? Not even a website. So I started selling on a Facebook page to an Instagram page, and then creating my own website. So I think the online, the presence, the e-commerce is so strong. You
Right.
have so many tools to leverage on to run a business right from your house itself, right? More so if you have age on your side, like say Namrata or myself, who are more tech friendly, who are able to leverage on social media, it becomes all the more easier for us to find our TG, right? And that's what actually makes it even more interesting, right? For a category like mine, which is a BPC category. Um, it's quite interesting that at least 70-80% of our revenue comes from our own website. Forget about the
Yes.
third
Okay.
party
Yes.
websites, the Nika,
Uh-huh.
Amazons, and all of that. It comes from our own website, and this traction is built because of the connection that we are able to create with the consumers without even seeing them through social media, right? Social media is so powerful, and I honestly believe that it can make or break a brand altogether completely, right? It's so powerful these days. Consumers have voice, and this voice has come because, and hence there is the existence of something called D2C brand, direct to
Yeah.
consumer brand. Consumers
Right.
are able to reach out to the brands directly. Traditionally in the past, the FMCG brands that we have seen, like Hindustans, or the giants that we have seen, I don't remember having a complaint, or rather, even if I had, as a consumer, I've never probably reached out to them because they're so huge. So there was a huge disconnect between those huge brands and consumers like me. But on the other hand, today, if I have a problem, say XYZ brand, that's come up in the last 5 years, I'm able to reach out up to the CEO level, and hence the D2C term itself is there, which is so close to the consumer. And that has been, a plus and a minus in both ways, I should say. Plus, because obviously, reaching out to consumers directly, we are able to, understand their requirements, their needs. They're able to talk to us, they're able to give us feedback. The minus, I would say, would be that, there are a lot of, challenges in the supply chain. I honestly think that, probably that is where, the D2C category is still struggling, and, trying to build. The supply chain is where, we're trying to strengthen um, the time. So everybody today expects Amazon delivery, right? You order today,
Yeah.
the next 24 hours delivery concept, right? So where are all
Yeah.
these things coming up from? These are all coming from huge online giants that have, made it in the past, and that is actually influencing smaller businesses like us to make it better. In terms of our supply chain, we want to ensure that today, if a customer places an order, by tomorrow I should deliver the product to them, right? So I think overall, yes, the online presence is how we've survived right from day one, right? I would say right from my homegrown days to today, we've still managed to be only online. And I think there's still lot of headroom, right? What we've actually conquered would be only the metro cities. Look at small towns like the tier 2, tier 3 cities, where the potential is so huge these days.
Right. Right.
And we are not even reaching out to those consumers more effectively, right? um, I think one more interesting thing that we should think of is, tools like influencer marketing, affiliate marketing. We don't need celebrities these days to endorse products, right? You just simply need realistic consumers talking about your product in social media spaces. The UGC content, user generated content, now these are certain things that are actually going viral, which actually influences consumers more, rather than, probably going
Direct
on with.
advertising and all of that. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mythreyi, coming to you, yours, of
Yeah.
course, is very an internet-led product, but tell us a little more about it.
Yeah, so for me, it's a B2B market. So, and we are not. So, how do we sell? Is we sell it to the physiotherapy clinics and hospitals, and
Uh-huh.
because it's a medical device, we have a set of regulations that needs to be followed and cannot be sold directly to the patients. Even if the patients are buying it, it should be under supervision of a physiotherapist or an orthosurgeon, neurosurgeon. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely the path is very different from the stories I've been hearing
True.
now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
So
very
tell me,
different.
during
Yeah.
the pandemic, did you need to undertake any entrepreneurship pivot?
Okay, not exactly.
Uh-huh.
It is very badly because we are completely an R&D and manufacturing industry, and
Right.
especially coming to funds in this industry is almost negligible. Medical devices. I think at least everyone now got a lot more awareness about medical sector after the pandemic, because of the COVID vaccines and medicines coming up. But still, even before that, there was nothing. Absolutely, people are not aware of the challenges or the importance of investing into these companies. So always the funds were a problem, because usually a device takes at least for 4 years, 5 years to get into market. And if it's a medicine, it takes much more than that. Obviously, no one wants to invest into these long cycle products, and which includes the R&D as well as the manufacturing, which is a very long journey, which obviously investors who are interested in quick returns, obviously this is not their option at all. So, and definitely pandemic hit us very badly because everything stopped at once. All the imports or all the manufacturing industries shut down for a very long time, and
Right.
electronic prices have tripled after the pandemic. You can see that in your daily buying laptops or anything. Like as a consumer, you can observe that henceforth that the prices have increased drastically, and also the lead times have increased very badly after the pandemic. Like previously, if it was like 1 month, now it became like 6 times more. So everything gotten very bad in electronics, especially because India is not very electronic friendly country. Like you see a lot of products getting only imported in India, not making it. I mean, we do a final assembly, but not more of R&D in India. So that was an idea when we started the medical device industry. So we thought, because being in electronics engineer and seeing the products imported and not being made by us, even though we have enough talent. That was very saddening. So that's why we started the company with a vision of building world class products in India for the world. And during the pandemic, it was tough, but we continue doing that. And what we have done is we have come up with online solutions again for physiotherapy,
Okay.
because you can see our product Physi Home, where because physiotherapy is one sector where you need that personal touch and feel of the patient when the therapy is happening, because they have to understand the movement, they have to understand the muscle, which is difficult. Like things are going ahead in the pandemic via video calls, but it's not a generic medicine, right? You have to do the exercise, and the physiotherapist
True.
wouldn't know whether things are happening properly. But with the
Yes.
products like Peasy, because we do live monitoring and we give reports instantly, so that was a very helpful to understand to a larger extent whether the patient is able to perform by themselves at home. So that was one thing which happened during pandemic, which we planned probably after a few years after settling up a little bit in B2B market. We wanted to go to B2C,
But you
but,
moved
but
that plan
it just,
forward.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, forward. And we started working on the other products like B2C products, so that it can be helpful in the right time. So that's how it pivoted, but not largely into different sectors as such.
Right. Shashi, we wanted to speak to you. We understood that your journey began by retailing to these various retailers. Have you been taking small steps towards moving online as well?
Online, we would love to do it, but difficult with our product because the way it is, we have tried it, of course, but the way it is handled, it invariably, by the time it reaches the customer, it's broken. And so that is one challenge we are facing, and where we need to find a breakthrough. So I'm
Right.
not
Right.
sell online
Not as of now. Okay.
as of now, no. Because I mean,
We,
they're small products, they're all large. If it's small, I can send it, but mine are
right.
all 1 foot and above. So that's a
Okay.
challenge.
Time's running out, but I have a lot of questions. I'd like to take one last question from each of you, which is that what has been your biggest life lesson in this entrepreneurial journey? And if you had to give one piece of advice to aspiring women entrepreneurs, what would that be? One last word from each of you. We'll start with Mythreyi.
Okay. So what I personally believe is just don't get carried away with a lot of jargons, terms, business support that or the advices that everyone gives. So definitely those things are helpful, but stick to your core idea and try to see whether it is working or not working as quickly as possible. And most of the times our decision would be right when compared to the others, because we know our products best than others. So and yeah, take support whenever it's needed. Reach out to people.
Absolutely. You couldn't have
Yeah,
said it better. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, because once one point of time we become alone in this journey, and we would not have friends or anyone to discuss about our problems. So make friends
Yes.
with other entrepreneurs and discuss your problems, understand their challenges and give solutions, and you can get the same. So just be open with your learnings and share your stories, so that we can help each other and grow in this journey forward.
$1 million advice there. Namrutha, what would your parting words be?
Sure. Mine would be to, identify why exactly you have started in the first place, because without purpose there is no moving forward. It is so easy to get lost. Like Mythreyi said, it's a very lonely journey from here. It's okay to get lost, and it's okay to be shameless and go ahead and ask for the route and ask for the step forward. Sometimes there will be a lot of no's, there will be a million yeses, but billion no's as well. It's important to understand why you started in the first place, so that you can just move forward.
Yeah, and
That's
each
all
time you
I tell
forget to come
myself
back
also
to
this.
this. Yes,
Yes.
yes, absolutely. Harini?
I would say be a hustler. I've always believed in being a hustler. You should know your end goal. as to why you even started in the first place. There may be hundreds of things that will come in between, but if you are a hustler and if you know what the end goal is, you will find that light at the end of the tunnel, right? So always keep looking for that and be very, conscious about it. Even though so many things crop up. The second thing, of course, there is no second, but still I'm making it. Invest in people. I've learned this from day one, and I think that's the best thing that I have done, and it's tried and tested. Invest in people. Don't always think that you can do everything. While you can do everything, investing in people is the only way a company can grow to the next level. So identify those people and invest in them, and I think there's only success after that. That's about it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those words, Shashi.
Yeah, my learning was gratitude, because Maati exists because of the workers and because of my clients. And sticking to my values, maybe there are certain things where I can make money in different ways, but no, I stick to my values and my ethics, and it is important to give back to society. So this was my
Absolutely.
learning. And what I believe is, anybody who starts any business has to be patient. It takes a couple of years to, where people hear about you, and where you start growing and you start earning. Because I've come in my journey, I've come across a lot of women who come pick up stuff and they say, oh, we tried, nothing worked. You need to give it time. You need to have that patience. You need to be positive. You need to be humble. You need to be open to feedback, whether negative or positive, and do not let failure pull you down.
Wise words from a seasoned entrepreneur. Yes, thank you so much for that. If I had to say one thing, I'd go back to one of my books, and I was interviewing the stand-up comedian Neeti Palta, and she gave up her corporate job and took to stand-up comedy. And I was asking her, "What is your biggest life lesson, and what would you say to aspiring women entrepreneurs who are still sitting on the fence? They're undecided whether they should take the leap or not." And she said this one sentence that has stayed with me, and I repeat it often on many forums. And she said, "Oh shit is better than what if." So, it's not good to spend
Absolutely.
lifetime with regrets.
Brilliant.
What if I had done this? Oh shit is always better than what if. With that, I'll bring this panel to a close. Thank you so much, all of you, for taking out the time to join us and to share your learnings. I'm sure you've inspired many other women entrepreneurs who, as I said, are sitting on the fence. There's nothing like hearing from fellow entrepreneurs, to be able to make some life decisions. So thank you so much, and we look forward to connecting with you again. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Rinku.
you for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
The internet gives them confidence and becomes a key source of information that they need and helps empower them.
Technology, ideas, and a woman out there with, the guts and gumption to say, I'm going to do something with my life. I think that's a winning combination.
Sisterhood is the most important, right? Because nobody understands it better than another woman.
And the rest of them go, wow, how did you make this? Everybody should just dare to dream and dare to dream big, because it is just so possible. It has not been easy, but it has been fun.
पहले के 3 साल जो थे हमारे, उसमें हमने बस अपना ब्रांड बनाना, अपना इमेज बनाने का काम किया.
I wasn't so good at numbers, and I wasn't so good at, looking at the business plan, and so I let that slide. You realize that becomes a problem, when we went out to the market to raise money, and I had to completely change as a person.
What we really need is to connect the providers of these initiatives with the beneficiaries.
It is a process that takes some time to get there.
Women believe, women achieve, empower, enable, and educate. That's it.
a world full of love is what I would like to create.